Hey, everybody. We're just getting ready to record next week's podcast. So you're just going to get a video of me um, reading my little entry for the podcast. I know I have like 0 followers, but hopefully you enjoy this if you do stumble across it. Yeah, hi. Thanks for joining. Just getting started, getting ready to record next week's podcast. So you get a sneak peek at the Lemonade Initiative and our second ever podcast. So getting ready for that. Just 1 second here. That is found at lemonadeinitiative.com. And we're going to the blog. Here we go. All right. Next week is going to be on B. Gaddy, the Mother Teresa of Baltimore. And so I'm just getting my other recording ready here. Let me see. Trying to see if I can use the audio of this video for that podcast. So just 1 second here. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Like I had said, this is about B. Gaddy, the Mother Teresa of Baltimore. I see an etching of a person jaywalking across the street. The mountain of detritus in their stolen shopping cart initially is off-putting. Their skin is tanned and cracked, and their brown hair is partially hidden under an army green knitted cap. It isn't immediately clear how many jackets they have on, but it's at least 2. Beatrice Frankie Fowler was born on February 20th, 1933, in the middle of the Great Depression. So life was pretty rough for Bea. On her birthday, the House of Representatives approved the 21st Amendment, repealing prohibition of alcohol and giving her abusive stepfather easier access to the liquor he used to drown his sorrows with. He abused the family relentlessly. According to the Maryland Women's Hall of Fame, Bea learned about domestic violence and poverty firsthand during her childhood. She said her father often threw her and her brother out of the house and that her mother lived in constant fear of being beaten. This man beat Bea's youngest brother so violently, her mother sent him away for his safety. This man would lock the kids out of the house. He would wake them up in the dead of night and make them leave the house, saying that they weren't his kids, so he didn't need to take care of them. Bea said, many nights, me and my oldest brother were gotten out of bed, and he'd just run us all over that little town. He would tell us that we were not his children, and that's when we learned how to eat behind the stores. We were scared to go home, and we would eat from the bins. Bea spent her childhood afraid of this man, and she spent it scared and hungry. She said in the Baltimore Sun, "You know, we talk about homelessness. Well, I was only really homeless one night in my life. But in another way, I've been homeless all my life until I came to Baltimore." She didn't marry for love. She married for escape. Hal was a poor girl from North Carolina who had no father and a mother too scared to be a parent, supposed to know that any man who comes along might not be who he says he is. Snow gently falls in a serene landscape. A normally hyperactive city has been subdued. As the sun goes down in early November, the bright strings of lights go up. In the excitement of the season, it is easy to overlook the human refuse tucked into an archway or under a park bench. Her first husband was a drifter, and at one point they moved as often as the rent was due. Then her first husband died at the hands of an acquaintance and left her and her children nothing. out of the frying pan into the fire. After this tragedy, a friend in Baltimore helped B move her family there. She was understandably miserable, and in her own words, she started to drink a little. B says, I never wanted anybody to know I was in such bad shape because you think being poor and hungry is all your fault. So you're not going next door to ask anybody for help. But when I realized that it wasn't my fault we were hungry, it wasn't my fault my stepfather would run us up through this little town every night, and that I didn't cause us being poor, then I just started asking people to help me, and that helped me to help myself. So many people are scared of losing their dignity when they ask for help. It isn't the person who needs help who loses dignity when they ask. It's the person who makes the needy feel like less than human for asking for help. Let me say it here a few times, and I'll close this post out with it too. It's not wrong to ask for help. You aren't a bad person if you ask for help. It's not wrong to ask for help. Before I share more of B's story, I want to introduce you to someone else, Bernard Potts. Bernie Potts was a father of 4 kids, a veteran of World War II, and a servant in his community. His son Philip wrote about his character. The jewel in my father's crown was not the money that he made, it was how many people he could help. So while I will tell you now that he was a lawyer and a successful member of his community, I want to focus on what seemed most important to him, helping the poor. Bernard and B seem to understand that a great atrocity this world faces is homelessness, made all the more atrocious by the preventability of it. In 2017, Yale University wrote a report stating that an estimated 150 million people globally are homeless. That number could potentially be 10 times larger than the official estimate because of recording and reporting practices. And the National Coalition for the Homeless reported in 2018 that 13,000 homeless people die while experiencing homelessness each year in the U.S. alone. Lots of words and numbers there. So sorry. In the U.S. alone. If that number was constant and steady each year, then 975,000 Americans have died while experiencing homelessness since the end of World War II. And that is only Americans. The number of people who have been victims of extreme poverty worldwide is almost impossible to accurately track. We don't hold any parties accountable, except for the victims themselves, for this genocide. But it is a genocide nonetheless. It's insane that our society tolerates so much death. 3,000 people die violent and tragic deaths in the World Trade Center, but 4 times as many Americans die each year because they didn't pick themselves up by their bootstraps, or they are drug addicts, or they deserve it, or some bullshit like that. And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Thank you for allowing me this tangent. B and Bernard both understood this the way I do. All suffering needs to end. Remember those we couldn't help and help those we can. They wanted to end the needless suffering of people who, for whatever reason, have ended up with so much less than most of us. Potts stepped in like the supportive father B never had. He encouraged her to make something of herself, something no man had probably ever done for her before. They lie so still, they might be a statue or dead. Who knows? I could know if I could commit to a sincere human act and check on them, but I'm scared. I'm scared for my safety. I'm afraid to hurt their dignity. If only I realized that ignoring them dehumanizes them way more than anything I could say. B said about Bernard, listening to that man gave me more than I have ever had in my life. The feeling that I could accomplish things, son of a bitch. Stupid alarm. Sorry. Okay. B said about Bernard, listening to that man gave me more than I have ever had in my life. The feeling that I could accomplish things, that I can do it. In 1981, B won a 2000, sorry, a much smaller prize than that. B won a, let me start over. To the one person who's still faithfully watching, thank you very much. Unless it's just counting me and I'm just talking to myself. We'll see. Anyway, in 1981, B won a $250 lottery pot from Baltimore. Due to inflation, that $250 would be equal to $715 today. That would get you a new cell phone or the new Xbox Series X or the new PlayStation 5. B was literally begging for food before she won this prize. So what would you do if you had to feed your family out of a trash can for years? Odds are good you wouldn't do what B did, and I don't know if I would. She found a Baltimore City tradition founded, again, since I'm recording for the podcast and you're enjoying this raw, unedited video, I'm going to start over here. She founded a Baltimore City tradition with it and spent all of it to feed 40 people Thanksgiving dinner in her own home. She was a poor and cold woman locked out of her home by her stepdad. She was a single mother, married and divorced several times. She did push a shopping cart around the city begging for food, and then she transformed herself, with the help of her friends, to a woman who filled her spare bedroom with food for the community, a woman who gave her incredibly lucky winning right back to the community that gave it to her, a woman who spent her strength and energy giving love, food, shelter, and dignity to the people in her community that she loved. She became a woman who was one of George H.W. Bush's 1,000 Points of Light. She became a city councilwoman, and she founded a movement that still serves her community of Baltimore long after she passed. In conclusion, one more time, ask for help. Even if some ignorant fool makes you feel like garbage for it, you still have dignity and worth, even if you need help. Sorry. Son of a bitch. Cut it out. Leave me alone. Okay. Where did I leave off? You still have dignity and worth, even if you need help. Ask for help. You can do it. You can get out of the darkest hole you've ever been in, and then you can use that momentum to really make a difference if you want to. B. Gaddy took life's lemons and she made her own lemonade, and then she started sharing sugar for people with way too many lemons to manage them all. So make your lemonade, and then if you have some extra sugar to give, help someone else make their lemonade too. If you want to help out your own community, I suggest searching for local food banks or homeless shelters. I will start including links on the main page of my website, lemonadeinitiative.com, where you can donate if you feel so inclined. I just want to end with a little quote from Malcolm Gladwell. We go to any length to commemorate one person's death, then in the same breath, look the other way as we step over someone lying on the street. It doesn't have to be this way. We can care for the living before their potential is squandered. I also wanted to say I realized in my initial blog post that I never said this, but B. Gaddy got her doctorate at the encouragement of Bernard Potts. Really was a special man who really blessed that woman's life. To the one, possibly zero viewers who watch this, thank you so much for joining me, and we'll probably do more later. And feel free to tune in when we do. Thanks so much.